Niels Gott, welcome back to What's Possible in the Moment.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be back.
Well, as you know, and our listeners now probably know, we are doing a series from our executive coaching team of what do you use in your toolbox? You know, we've, as coaches who have been coaching for years, decades, quite some time, we have a pretty robust toolbox of tools that we can share with our clients to help them regulate, to help them feel a sense of calm in a world that sometimes can feel not real calm. And so I was getting curious. I thought, gosh, I wonder what the coaches on our team, what are their go-to for themselves? And that is the impetus for this in the moment. So I am going to turn it over to you. And I know you have so many tools. You are constantly taking continuing education on how do we avoid burnout? How do we support people who are struggling with their well-being? So I have a feeling you have a hard time picking your fave, but please do share.
You know me too well, Eileen, and guilty as charged. I'm, as you know, I'm in the middle of a burnout coaching certification right now, which provides a wealth of fascinating tools. But the one that I chose to share today is very simple, and that's part of why I chose it, because you can do it anytime, any place. And what I call it is name, breathe, widen. And so step one is to name it. And I just start by naming what's happening very plainly without trying to fix it. And so, as you point out, the world is not particularly calm right now. And I have lots of occasions where I feel activated. And so naming it might be simply saying that I'm feeling activated, or maybe I'm recognizing that my chest feels tight, or maybe I feel like I'm clenching my jaw. Just simply naming what is happening. And the reason why that works is because naming it then engages our prefrontal cortex. And that helps to reduce the sense that this stress is vague or just overwhelming. And by doing that, it can start to create a little bit of distance between me and the stress response. And so for me, this is about honesty, not positivity, and not trying to fix it, just simply calling it what it is. This is what I'm experiencing right now. So then once I've named it, step two is to breathe. And I start by slowing my breathing just enough to give my nervous system this signal that I'm safe. And the simple version that I love to go to is simply inhaling through the nose for a count of 4, and then exhaling through the mouth for a count of 6. And I'll do this 5, 6, 7, 8 times until I've started to notice that I am starting to deactivate that response. And part of why that longer exhale works is because it stimulates the vagus nerve. And so that can start to shift me out of that sympathetic activation without trying to force calm. Calm is one of those things that if you force it, sort of the opposite reaction can happen.
Exactly.
And so the other thing that I love about this particular breathing activity, really most breathing activities, is that it's subtle enough that I can do that in a meeting. I can do that in a car. I could do that in an airport. Could literally do that any place that I am without any fear of people seeing what I'm doing or thinking that I'm looking like a weirdo or anything silly that'll pop into my head. But also, like, not trying to force calm. I'm not trying to relax necessarily either. What I'm trying to do is to interrupt that stress loop. By giving my nervous system new information, I can derail that cycle of stress that can be so self-reinforcing. And that brings me to the third step, which is to widen. And so as I've noticed that my breathing has slowed, I intentionally widen my attention. And I do this by paying attention to my physical environment. That's the easiest place to start. So I'll feel my feet on the ground, or if I'm sitting in a chair, I'll feel my body in the chair and where my body's making contact with that chair. Just whatever physical sensations that I've got. Maybe, it's cold in Minnesota right now. Maybe I'm just feeling the thick sweater that I've got and the warmth that it's giving me. And after I've started to pay attention to that physical sensation, I'll pick 3 things out that I can see. I'm not overthinking it, just 3 things in my environment. Right now, I can see my computer screen. I can see the flag on my wall. I can see my bookcase. Again, nothing overly complicated. It's all part of this interruption process. After I've picked out 3 things I can see, I'll pick 2 things I can hear. And I like to start by what's the furthest away thing that I can hear? And right now, that might be a car way off in the distance. And once I've found something far away, then I'll pick something close. What's the closest sound I can hear? And so right now, that's a slight ringing in my ears, if I'm being honest.
Oh,
But again, this is all about that interruption of the stress cycle. So why I like that is one thing I learned in the military is that high stress environments tend to cause what we call tunnel vision because stress will narrow your attention. And by widening, I'm restoring a sense of choice and perspective. And that also helps to bring my body back into the present moment. And just like you said at the outset, it's a way of grounding as I'm
yeah.
starting to downregulate my nervous system. And that's the part that brings me right back into the room or into my life where I am instead of stuck inside my head.
Yeah.
So that's it, down and dirty, nothing fancy. It's my reset button, just enough to come back to myself.
Yeah. I really like it, and that was my goal for these, honestly, is to have something that is simple, something we can do in the moment. Like you said, the breath, no one knows what you're doing, and I always love that extra long exhale. I one time asked Chat because I talk about it a lot with I do the Andrew Weil 4-7-8 breath, and having that longer exhale is key because it, prompts that parasympathetic nervous system to rest and digest and versus the fight and flight where we're like and we're not exhaling, we're just kind of taking it all in. And so I asked Chad, I'm like, how do I help people remember the parasympathetic nervous system? And it came back with think of it as a parachute. And I love that. It's kind of this
Ooh.
calming parachute of just like, just floating down. And so for our listeners who are trying to remember, okay, what is the parasympathetic nervous system? It's that calming kind of a parachute that you've chosen to be parachuting and not it's not an emergency release, right?
You
That will
haven't been checked out of
activate
the
the
plane against your
right,
will.
exactly. This was a choice, and now you're just floating peacefully.
That's a good one. I love that. And as you know, I love the 478 as well.
Yeah.
Again, because of the simplicity, but I often use that if I'm having a hard time falling asleep. That's one of my go-tos for that setting as well.
Yeah. And for our listeners, if you're curious about the 478, there's many videos on it. It's Dr. Andrew Weil. You can pull one up with him leading it, and it's a great tool to have. And what I like, Niels, that you're saying with all of these, the naming, the widening, is you don't know if I'm doing it right now. So I could be in a stressful interaction with you, and I could be going through this in my mind just to stay calm, I was going to say stay present, but of course, if I'm thinking of widening, and looking at seeing and hearing, I might lose some presence with you. But nonetheless, if you can do this activity, particularly before going into a stressful situation, or if you've just hung up, you've had a phone call that feels stressful, you've turned on the news, that's activated you. Take a moment. And how long would you say this process takes you?
That usually only takes me a couple 3 minutes. It's not terribly long. And if it didn't quite get me where I needed to go, I could do it again because to your point, no one has any idea that I'm doing that. And I love the examples you use because those are some great ones. If I'm about to go into a conversation or situation that I'm nervous about, that's a way to downregulate. Or if I've just gotten out of a conversation that was highly emotional or highly charged, yet again, another great chance to just very quickly reset.
Wonderful. So, for our listeners, we want to name it. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Put some words to it so you can ground yourself in what is happening. As Neil said, what's truly happening? We're not trying to paint a new picture. We're not reframing. We're not redirecting. We are being honest with ourselves. So, name it. Then we want a breath that has a longer exhale. Neil said the four in and six out. So that's a real simple breath to apply, and then widening. What do you see? What do you hear? And do you do feel also, or is it really see and hear that you tend to do?
I start by feeling
Okay.
what do I literally feel physically, and then go into
Okay.
picking things out to see and then hear. Because again, it's all about interrupting that stress loop.
that cycle. And yeah, when I say feel, not I'm not talking about the name at the beginning, what am I feeling, but the physically, if you want to, what three things can I feel right now? I'm holding up my pen. I feel the pen. I
Exactly.
feel here's my what's possible mug. I feel, etc. Okay.
Exactly. My
Excellent.
fidget ring that I've got.
Your fidget ring. Exactly. Love it. Niels Gott, thank you for popping over to What's Possible to share your go-to stress buster.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.